Mr. Transformers 96 here. At the end of the video, talked about some newly shown items from New York Toy Fair 2018. This time we have the new Spider-Man wave, the second wave of the year, featuring this Build-A-Figure. So yeah, so let's get into it. This wave was rumored beforehand without the Build-A-Figure, so the Build-A-Figure is new. All the figures that have been shown from it are new, but just they were all rumored and accurately predicted because they're all exactly what the rumor was. And I was hoping that that wouldn't be the case because I am not a fan of most of these figures, but let's get started. Here we have a version of Daredevil. It's basically just a repaint of the previous Daredevil, but with new arms. He has, bandage arms, and then as you can see at the bottom there, he has more of boots. It's this kind of black and red color scheme that he has going on. Personally, I'm not a huge Daredevil fan. I like him in the Netflix shows. I don't, this might be, I might get killed for saying this, but I don't even mind the Ben Affleck one. But I'm just not a big fan of Daredevil in general. Like, I enjoy watching him, but I'm not, I don't get excited about him. So, just not a fan of this. Simply because of the character. And then we have the Scarlet Spider in his black and red costume. I kind of like the design of this. I like how his face is a little more pointed and the eyes kind of bulge out, and I like the stakes from his hands. The rest of the figure, though, is your average sculpt with just minimal paint. So he's got an interesting look in some areas, but minimal paint in others, which makes him plain. Elektra, never been a big fan of Elektra. I'm not a big fan of those kind of characters. She looks alright. She's got a standard body sculpt, but it looks like kind of the Hellcat sculpt. Her hands, I do like the fact that she can hold those knives really well, especially in her right hand. Head sculpt looks pretty nice. Solid figure. This is the one figure that I'm stoked about for this wave. Dr. Octopus. I've been wanting a Dr. Octopus figure for so long, and I was kind of expecting him to be a Build-A-Figure of a wave, so it is very cool to see that he's not. He's just a standard figure. He's a completely new sculpt. As you can see, they obviously don't do many hefty characters in Marvel Legends, as the superhero body sculpt is usually very one-dimensional, so you do actually have quite a new sculpt here, which is very cool. His head looks a little small. That's my only complaint. Would like to see the head sculpt not be so tiny looking, but I like the head sculpt a lot. It's got a lot of expression in it. It looks very cool. And then his arms there are kind of like rubber. I don't know how posable they'll be, if they're kind of stuck in that position or if they're gonna have a wire throughout each one of them. But they do look very nice, and I like the very classic version of the Dr. Octopus that they went with. They could have easily gone with something more modern. Definitely liking the classic version that they chose, though. This is excellent. So I'm loving that figure. Then we have Cloak and Dagger. So I believe that this is like two separate figures. I believe that at one point, though, at Toy Fair, they had him displayed with just the cloak. So I'm not sure if you get her and the cloak, but I also saw another version of him where he's there with like a full body under the cloak. So I believe this is two separate figures, and they're basically sharing packaging. That's the one thing I can think of. The two of them look very cool. Just again, I'm not a big Cloak and Dagger fan. I've never have been. So the figures themselves, though, do look nice. I like her accessory that she comes with, so it looks like she's throwing those. That looks very cool. Then we have, who is this one? Yeah, this is, the House of M Spider-Man. Don't know much about this version of Spider-Man. Nothing's new to it. It's just your standard Spider-Man body sculpt with a head that has been repainted in, just more blue instead of some of the red there. He does look like he comes with some sort of new accessory as far as his webs are concerned, but overall, looking very plain. Then we have the Build-A-Figure being like this, SPDR. I don't know much about this character at all. I believe Peter Parker is actually wearing this, and this is what a spider suit for him, if I'm not mistaken. It looks very strange, very skinny and spindly. Has very much of a cartoon look to it. Doesn't even look quite comic-y. It just looks cartoony. So I am not a big fan of this. I'll be interested to see some of the articulation on it. It's certainly very interesting, which kind of catches my attention. And I'm sure that it's obviously 100% new sculpt, which is interesting. But overall, I'm not a big fan of this Build-A-Figure. I think that Spider-Man has so many cool characters that you're gonna have as Build-A-Figures. So to go with this is just really out of left field. Very, very odd. It's kind of like Warlock, but without the interesting character and design. So that's just kind of how I view this Build-A-Figure. Overall, just for me personally, I'm not digging this wave. I think that I might just skip the entire wave except for Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus is, if I had to pick like one Spider-Man character for them to do beforehand that they haven't done, I would have been Dr. Octopus. So he is like a mega success in this wave, and then everybody else is like I could care less about. So personally, I think that I'll just pick up Dr. Octopus and I'll be happy, because the rest of these are not really interesting me much in the slightest, which is unfortunate. And mainly it's due to the character, because the figures in some cases look pretty decent, but just I'm not a big fan of Daredevil. I don't know much about the Spider-Man, although this one looks decent. Elektra I'm not a big fan of. Dr. Octopus I love. Cloak and Dagger not a big fan of. This version of Spider-Man looks very plain, and then the Build-A-Figure is intriguing but not quite needed. So that's kind of how I view this wave. Let me know what you guys think of it, and thanks so much for watching.